Coach Brenda Horn here, and I want to talk to you about your passion versus your purpose. Sometimes, we can be so passionate about things that we like, oh, I'm destined. I know I'm supposed to be doing that. And it's kind of like, God is like, nah, not that one. Some things, as they say, are for a reason, some for a season, and some for a lifetime. But it's important, it's imperative that we have the wisdom to know the difference. And that's something that I had to learn. And that's something that I had to develop. And I had to ask God to help me in that area of discernment and development when it came to that. Because let me give you, for example, a relationship. There have been relationships that I was passionate about, but I had to come to the realization and accept it that the behavior taking place in this situation is not linked to my purpose. With that acceptance came a decision. I had to make a decision if I was going to continue on that course or if I was going to make a decision to veer in a different direction. And I am so glad that God helped me to see the light and veer in a different direction. And, we have to take inventory on our, relationships and on our courses that we're on, whether it come to a relationship, business, or whatever the case may be, career, whatever the case may be. We need to take inventory and say, okay, God, is this matching up with the purpose and plan you have for my life, despite my passion for it? And there are countless examples of changing course, midway through what you thought was your purpose, but it really was your passion, but it turning out for our good. Let's take Saul, who was transferred into Paul, for instance. Saul was not anti-God. He was not anti-God. Actually, he was so pro-God and so passionate to serve God that he was killing Christians because he thought that they were anti-God, so to speak. And so he wanted to preserve the way in which he was taught and the way in which he perceived things should be done, when it came to worshiping God and serving God. And so it came to a point where God had to show him, Paul, you're wrong. You're wrong in this. You're passionate, but you're wrong. And so Paul had to take that information. He had a choice to either accept it or reject it. He accepted it. And he had a choice to either stay on that course or veer in another direction. And he veered in another direction. And how did it turn out? It turned out not only for Paul's good, but for our good, because we're talking about Paul today. We're talking about how Paul veered off course of his passion to apprehend his purpose. And not only is that blessed Paul then, but it's blessing us Christians to this day. And so I say all that to say this: if you have a relationship, a career, any type of thing that you are passionate about, or even a hobby, anything that you're passionate about, however, the behavior or the situation or things are not meshing up. And that's not to say you won't have hard times even when you're purposed to do something, because the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy. He wants to derail you from pursuing your purpose, especially if he can, present some roadblocks that can deter you. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is when something is presented, it can also be presented as wonderful, even with good intentions. But even good intentions don't always match up to God's intentions. And so things can be presented looking the same way, but have completely different intents and outcomes. Salt and sugar look exactly the same, but they don't taste the same. And this is why it is very important for us to take those things that we may be interested in or enjoy or even passionate about, and maybe even pretty good at, and say, okay, God, does this line up with your purpose and your plan for my life? Does this relationship line up with the purpose and plan for my life that you have for me, Lord? Because I'm going to tell you something. Things can start out looking good in a relationship and seem like they're even going well. And somebody can display all the good in the beginning. Of course, because they know what you're looking for. They know that you're focused and you're watching to see those other things that may be lying dormant. And then all of a sudden, boom, they do something that's, disrespectful, or they do something that questions, or challenges your integrity. I always said, if you see someone displaying unloyal, disrespectful, unfavorable behaviors towards someone else, but they haven't done it to you yet, it just wasn't your turn yet. You better take heed to that. That is a warning and a sign. You need to, don't ignore that. When God gives you that confirmation, believe him the first time. Believe him the first time, so that you don't waste anyone else's time and they don't waste yours.